Pasa mi gente, Tío Lalo here with you today. We are doing something a little bit different than what we have been doing with engraving. Most of the stuff you guys have followed me for has usually been for, well, stuff like this, right? We work on some art pieces. Like this one's one we're working on right now on another live, but this one's a brass inlay. Looks really nice, but we're doing something different. So in order to understand engraving in general, you have to know how to draw. If you can't draw, you can't design. If you can't design it, then the layout looks horrible and it doesn't translate well into anything. Some of the greatest engravers are some of the greatest artists out there. Fine Italian engravers, Sam Alfano, Ken C. Hunt is freaking awesome. You know, a lot of these engravers that have done it for decades are some of the best artists. So today we're changing it up. We're just working on a piece that I've got going on right here. This is obviously a Doberman, and we're just painting. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. I'm kind of putting my face in front today, and we'll just be working on it. If you guys want to subscribe, great. If not, not a big deal. And we'll go from there. So let me go ahead and put this away. Reference photo we've got going is this one right here. So this is our reference, this good boy right here, and going right there. So we'll scoot you on over. That way you guys can actually see a little bit better what we're doing. The medium we're going to be using is acrylic. We're doing acrylic with this one, and we're using a bunch of different brushes. Getting good acrylic paint's usually key, but we're just going with some Master's Touch stuff you can buy from like Hobby Lobby, and you can create decent paintings. It just sometimes takes a little bit more and some finagling with it. Music, guys. I listen to a bunch of stuff, but today we're just going to listen to water's key, so I'm going to go grab some water. Okay, we tend to use a lot of Payne's gray. In most work, and even in life, black isn't always just a dark black. There's usually blues, violets in there, greens as well. It just depends on what you're looking at in life. So understanding colors key when it comes to engraving on firearms as well, and as well as obviously painting is huge. We got some raw sienna, unbleached titanium, and adding basically drying retarder. Drying retarder is key with acrylics because it's not like oil painting. Acrylics tend to dry really, really fast. Oil paintings can take up to 6 months to dry depending on the oil paint you're using. So yeah. Sorry guys, got spammers on here already. Always try to mix your colors from lightest to darkest, unless you do that, just so they don't mix up. The darks will get in your lights, but the lights usually don't do much for your darks, usually. Acrylics, you're gonna layer. So this has been multiple layers. Usually we started with the background, some abstract background, and the abstract background kind of acts as a grid for you, because then you can overlay that photo digitally and you can look exactly where you need to draw to get the proportions correct with your drawing. With, say, engraving, a lot of your proportions are going to come from you putting down a pre-printed, like a laser jet print, some sort of layout for you to use. So some people see it as cheating, but use whatever tools you have available to you. It does hinder your learning ability a little bit, not doing it just fully freehand by sight, but most artists use some sort of guide. We will be doing another live today on the 1911 slide that we're doing, inlaying. We're going to try to finish up the other side with the brass inlay. But it's kind of boring, honestly. You guys are obviously noticed. Inlaying can be boring. Once you've got the gist of it down, it's not really super exciting. Really, everyone's usually waiting for the engraving portion. All right, we've got our basic palette right there. Dropping everything. Now, I'm actually going to also add onto a different palette some titanium white. We have to work on our highlights quite a bit. If we look at this reference right here, we're going to quite a bit of highlights on the outside. We've got to highlight some more right here. It shows the difference. It's a different plane. So if you notice, the eye is supposed to be further back than the nose. Right now we have no differentiation right here. It kind of all molds into one. So we've got to differentiate that plane so it gives you that 3D look. We'll look for a smaller brush. Got right there for highlights. We're just looking for some titanium white. Titanium white is just white. I really like to get in there and look at the colors. So there's a lot of like almost peach skin tone in there, because with Dobermans they have really short hair, so you can actually see the skin somewhat through there. And it's during golden hour, so we're gonna look at creating just a hint of pink in there. And we'll use some crimson. And literally when I mean like a hint, I mean like I'm barely gonna tap it on the side and just give me that. And I'm gonna mix it. I'll use a cleaner palette. And we're just gonna mix that, see what kind of pink we can get. That turned out really pink, so we might have to, we're probably gonna have to tone it down. That's too pink for me. I'm gonna tone it down, so what we'll do is we'll take just that much, put it on the side. We're gonna add some more white. And there's a tint of brown there, so I'm gonna, almost like an orange brown. So we're gonna go on the side right there. I'm looking for just a, it's like a skin tone color almost. That raw sienna gave me that skin tone. This is about what we're looking for right here. And it matches pretty closely. So that'll be our highlight. We'll keep it to that. Throw that in the water. I like to get my brush wet just to start off with a lighter layer. We're gonna look at how this kind of goes. We're looking at it and it almost comes up all the way over here. Okay. Dry it off a little bit. I'm gonna add a tiny hint of pure white right in the middle, right where it's strongest, just to differentiate. We're gonna lighten it up a lot. So we're almost gonna get a clean brush. It's kind of wet right now. We're just gonna brush tone right in there. And it's okay to be a little strong right now on the highlight because we're going to tone it down with some layered colors. Differentiate right here. There's some warm whites on this highlight right here. Now with this one, what I like about painting versus engraving, engraving tends to be very tight, very, very tight. With painting, you're a little bit more loose depending on your style. If you're going for hyper-realism, yeah, you'll probably be a little tighter. But I found that I like painting just kind of loose. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit more raw sienna. Give it a little bit more of a warm tint. Literally just that much. It's all you need. Goes a long, long way. And this is going to add a different tone. And with acrylics, it's about layering. Different tones. A little bit more burnt for a little bit more of a warmer skin tone. This is a red Doberman anyways, so creating that tone right there. Too much paint. Softer with it, so we put water on there. Again, I'm a pretty loose guy with my acrylic and my painting style. It's kind of nice to get away from the tightness of doing like scroll work where it's very fine work. We're going to lighten some right here because we're going to layer the lighter brown that is under his eyes. Pretty strong highlight right here that differentiates the plane. Add a little bit more white. That's too strong. So we lift. Lift. Okay, we want some pink hues. Want a softer skin tone color on that one. Blend in right in here area. This area has some very warm but light skin tone colors. Awesome. Okay, let's darken it up a little bit. We're going to use some of the other colors we've got already in our palette. Here, we're just layering. Browns. There's definitely some grays in there. We'll probably do that here shortly. All right, where do we need to go from here? Yeah, we need to warm things up. So we're going to take some of this white that we've got. I'm going to place it right in here. We're going to grab some of that raw sienna. Has that really pinkish reddish tone, so we're going to add quite a bit of the pink, that light pink that we created. that's okay right now. I'll layer warm tones on top of it. And we're really gonna layer the burnt sienna on top of that. There's a lot of variation. It's fur, short fur, but fur regardless. So we're adding that color to give them some highlight. I'm gonna grab some of this burnt umber, and this is basically the dog's essentially color. Remember, the color that you see, if it's like brown, it probably has other colors in there. It can include blues, and Payne's Gray is one of them. So I tend to use quite a bit of Payne's Gray. I'm actually gonna clean my brush. Grab this brush. Okay. So we'll grab some of this Payne's Gray, really dark. Put it down in the palette, and then we're gonna grab a bunch of that brown and mix it in with it. It's gonna give us like a dark brown. There's some water in there. Let's add some of the lighter. I'm gonna layer some darkness right in here, right where we see it. It's too watered down, I don't like that. Okay, we work out. Again, loose brush strokes. What I like about big paintings is that when people see them from far away, they look so realistic at times. Then when you get up on them, they tend to be, you can see all the brush strokes. Okay, this is just Payne's Gray now going into it. Slightly blend, still using loose brush strokes. More of the darker brown. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it. All right. Come back to those skin tone colors. Again, like I said, layers, 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 upon layers, upon layers. Create. I'll even slightly go in. Okay. Go in right here, kinda. Again, we're not going for complete realism in this. Got some burnt sienna in there. Part of this dark shadow. Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go with, trying to look at the colors, kind of get that somewhat realism from far away. And I'm gonna use those skin tones. I'm telling you, that skin tone color, like this color right here, it's kind of white, but it just has that slight skin tone. Some people call it like pink or coral, or I'm not even sure what I just call it skin tone. It's like light skin tone. Okay. We'll leave that spot for now. Let's work on some other spots that we need to work on with the pups. Okay. All right, we've got this going here, molding. This needs a little bit of highlight work right here. Now, in the colors we see some oranges, some browns, some burnt siennas, some of that raw umber, or burnt umber, sorry, and the raw sienna. So we're gonna add a little bit of that with our whites. So we're gonna come back to this white palette that we've got here. And we're gonna grab some of that burnt sienna. And we're just gonna add it right there. Nice. Edward Christensen, you know, I have no idea yet. This is actually the first big painting I've ever done. So everything I've ever done has usually been in a sketchbook or smaller portions. This is a first for me. So I think I want to make 4 or 5 different ones similar to this to display. And then I guess I'll try to figure out a price. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think that a piece this big? This is a 48 by 36. How big does a piece go for this? I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of just doing it for the passion of it. So, and I'm gonna put this in my house because this is actually my pup right here. So, all right. Okay. So we've got a light tan. We can definitely use some of it for those highlights, but I do want a different brush. So this is more of a fur style, and we're still gonna layer more on top. So I want like a pretty coarse, this is like a cheap one, but I want a coarse one. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna tap. Just tap it. And I'm gonna go in and literally just ever so slightly. Are we back? I think we're back. Sorry guys, I took a phone call and apparently it puts everything on pause. So we are just we're just getting some fur going. Now remember, we're still gonna come through and layer on top of this fur. So this fur is not final. but this coarse brush gives you a really coarse, almost like a fur feel. So it's just a cheap, like, I don't know, some type of hairbrush. And we're just putting that warm white, that skin tone on there. Again, we were trying to follow some of the contours that are on the photo, but it doesn't have to be exact, guys. So that's the great thing about art, is you can kind of be, you know, a little looser. If you do the fur, try to follow the fur direction that you have in your photo. Again, I'm just getting the bare tips to give me the top portion. There's a lot of highlights on this side, and that fur's coming down right here. So we're gonna, and these short-haired, he's a short-haired dog, so we're really gonna almost make it just like this right here, just to give him that short hair look. We don't want it, he's not a German Shepherd, he's not a collie or anything like that. So you want short strokes that give the effect of a short, basically a hair highlighting in the light. So when the hair highlights, you can see that tiny little piece of fur highlighting, and that's what we're looking at. So if we look at, we really break it down to something like this. So he's a short-haired dog, so most of it's just nice and short. Short. Short brush strokes. He's really highlighted over here because the sun's hitting him from the behind, creating a beautiful rim. So we're just gonna nice and light. And again, this is not realism. This is an abstract realism, meaning that we want this to look fairly realistic from far away. But as you move in closer, you can see all the brush strokes, you can see the art, you can see how it took form and developed. Questions right now, guys? Sorry, like I said, it lagged. I lost quite a few of the viewers that were on here. And we don't even really worry about this back portion. That's going to be a very blended, blurry portion, because the focal point of this photo is going to be right here, right? So like the mouth, the eyes, the nose, that's your focal point. The actual color and the body portion of it, and the background needs to be really abstract, and it needs to be really blurred out, showing depth of field, and go from there. So, Edward, so I've been working on this one for probably, I would put 5 hours so far into it right here, maybe 6 hours right now so far. So I mean, by the time we're done with it, I'll probably put 10 to 15 hours maybe, I'm guessing. It's just a guess. And I say that, I think I've only taken that long so far. Adding a little bit of water to give that acrylic some. No, I don't. So art's interesting. Art can be something learned by anybody and everybody. Most people say they never have the knack for art, but I'm telling you, I have seen people that had zero art skill overtake me by a long shot. So a lot of people say it's like, oh, you have talent for it or whatever. Like it's just a natural talent, and it's not really always the case. Most people have to work really, really hard for art to take off. I do not like that ear. It needs a lot of burnt sienna on it. So we're gonna grab some of this burnt sienna, a little bit of water, and really go in there, work it, add a layer. Again, guys, layers, layers, layers. Okay. I want skin tones to highlight. I'm just not liking how that ear looks. And if you guys follow me long enough, you'll know that with my art, including engraving, I tend to jump around a lot, and I think it has to do with my self-diagnosed ADHD, where I'm like, you know, oh, squirrel. I'll see something and I'm like, I don't like that, and I just have to fix it right there and then. So that's why I really do enjoy painting, because it doesn't always have to follow a perfect road. And everybody has their art style. And one great thing about it, guys, in today's day and age, realism doesn't sell as good as abstract. This is like an abstract realist part. But realism, you know, we have such good photographs, and like everybody has a camera nowadays. So realism isn't selling as good as like an abstract piece, or something that has a little bit more emotion in it. And that's like the artsy term, I guess. I don't fancy myself as an artsy guy in that manner. Like I hope I'm not snooty. But the research right now has been showing that abstract stuff sells a little bit more. So if you can figure out colors, then good on you. You have a pretty good chance of succeeding in art. Okay, all right. I'm trying to think, where are we gonna go from here? There's darkness here. You know, we can add the whiskers, the whisker shadows. That's not hard by any means. So let me grab a tiny little brush. Just gonna use this brush right here. And we're just gonna use some Payne's Gray. It's pretty watered down. It's kind of funny, his whiskers kind of follow a line, so we kind of have to follow that same line. I guess that kind of works. So, Jose Rodriguez, gracias. Thank you, thank you. anybody on here that's watching, do they follow you guys? Edward Christensen, I don't take orders. Actually, one of the most recent things that I'm focusing on now is I was taking custom orders on custom firearm engravings and jewelry engraving, and it was sucking away from the artistic feel. So I just said, screw it. We're dropping all custom orders. Just finishing off like the last two. I have two customers that I took orders from earlier in the year, and now I'm just following my passion and just doing what I want. And so that's where we're at right now. So although I do feel honored when people want me to do orders for them in custom work, it just wasn't the artistic feel that I needed in life. So, but I do know some people that make custom orders though, if you do want. All right, Payne's gray again. We're gonna work on any of the blacks that we need to. Making the eyes. Just adding some dark hairs in here. Again, the only reason we're focusing on some of this stuff right here is because the focal point is the eyes, and it's the actual subject, like the eyes, the mouth, the nose, all this has to have pretty good detail. Everything else can be blurry or very abstract. Because you don't want the focal point of people looking at that. We need some burnt sienna on this one. Create some of the warm tones by the eye of highlight. So we're actually gonna get some warm tones right here. Again, pretty loose, but showing the fur that's highlighting with the sun. Now we're gonna darken it up though here in a second. We're gonna go darker now with the brown, the burnt umber. So the burnt umber goes on next. And you're just gradients. So we're looking at this portion right here. We're seeing I'm even seeing some like skin tone colors, some Payne's gray in here, some burnt sienna, some of that umber. Sorry, I say burnt sienna. Raw sienna, burnt umber. I keep getting those. And then even some skin tones right there, which we've already got. But then we added the warm sienna colors. We're gonna get that dark. And that eye is really starting to pop. The eye is really, really starting to pop. So, Patricia Aldrich, hey, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Patricia, I'm pretty sure you've tuned in the past for some of my engraving work. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was somebody else. All right, we're seeing some dark tones in here by the eye. Like I said, we're really adding the detail into the eye. So I'm taking a little bit more time here because this is going to show. Everybody wants to get sucked into the eyes. One of the first things that people look at is eyes. In most photos, eyes are a focal point almost always. So the more detail we can put into the eye, the more the viewer will just get sucked into the eyes, and then they'll go around, look at everything else, and back to the eyes they go. And it kind of hopefully keeps people interested in the overall art piece, which hopefully leads to a sale later on, I guess. Edward, hey man, well, you know, hopefully you can learn and maybe you can do one like this. It never hurts to try. Luckily, acrylics are pretty cheap. And guys, so one of the things, if you guys haven't followed the channel for long, I just had one of the paintings fail that was supposed to go onto an engraving. So as an artist, people think that you're not going to fail ever. You fail a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I got through and I'm like, man, I suck. And I toss it. And then just right back to it we go. So when people are like, oh, you're so talented, this is awesome, like, I wish I could do that. I'm like, you can, it just takes some time, guys. It takes a little bit of time and you can make it happen. Definitely some Payne's gray right up in here. Really dark, and then there's some blues in there, which I'm like looking at. There's some blues, and so I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna make it happen. I'm gonna let this dry. We're gonna put some white over it once it's dry, and then we're gonna start putting a little bit of the cyan blue colors in there. So. Children cry. Well, hey, I mean, believe me, I haven't always been good, or I don't even consider myself good. This is okay. There are masters out there in art, much more than I am right here. So a little bit of detail by eyes. These people are really going to focus on it, so we want to make sure it's kind of. All right, let's see. Okay, you definitely want. Still not happy here. I'm trying to create that plane. So I'm trying to think what we're gonna do here in a second. Gonna highlight a little bit more right here. Throw a little bit more highlight. Gonna go right here. I'm gonna highlight right there. So I'm gonna grab some more white. Yeah, we're gonna grab some, this is unbleached titanium. And we're just gonna use it to highlight a little bit. This is gonna be one of the other layers. Again, we're just creating layers, creating interesting complementary colors. If you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Like I said, I don't do just this. I like metal engraving. I love metal engraving. This just kind of gets me in a different headspace. So there's a saying. I don't know how many of you guys listen to like some of the podcasts and stuff like that. One of them was like Dan Martell. I listen to Dan Martell, and he's a pretty successful guy. But one of the things he says is, exhaust the body, tame the mind. So that's why I work out every morning if I can, or I make it a habit to work out every morning. But it's the same concept when it comes to engraving or when it comes to art. Is oftentimes with engraving, it's such fine detail. It's so tiny, and I don't really get to express myself the way I want to. Now this is going to sound corny, but I love like acrylic, things like this, because it just lets me express myself. It's a lot more loose. The background's going. I just kind of get to play with colors and go, and it kind of releases, it exhausts my mind, and it tames me. So then I can go outside and go do some really fine engraving, some really, really fine detail, because I've exhausted all that, like all the super abstract creative power out here. So, Kent, no, it's actually, this is acrylic. So this is an acrylic one right here. Although I did use some watercolor. I guess this is mixed media. So we're going to go through a different plethora of things. I don't just do one thing. So we did acrylic, and then we have some watercolor pencil here and there. We did a little bit of shading with watercolor pencil. And then we're going to get everything done with acrylic, and then we're likely going to go back in. I'm still debating on it. We're probably going to use charcoal. It's like a skin tone charcoal to go in and really shade some of the stuff in. That's the focal point, so like the eyes, things like that, and go from there. So. That titanium white's really nice. It's a very subtle, almost like tan. And it's helping tone down some of these highlights, but still highlight them at the same time. I don't know if that even makes sense, but because some of these skin tones are really pink, now that I'm looking at them, but this layer of titanium white is helping tone it down ever so slightly. Again, you create layers, and that's similar to oil painting. And I'm not a huge oil painter by any means, so like, take it with a grain of salt. But with acrylics, they tend to dry so fast that you have to put different layers on top of each other, some watered down so you can see the transparency between them, and really build onto the large picture. And so from far away, this looks really, really realistic, hopefully. And then coming up close to it, you're like, oh, there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of brush strokes, a lot of abstract work, and it catches the eye. Kent, thank you, appreciate it. Thanks again, guys, if you're tuning in. All right, we're gonna go back in with some of the fur brush, some of this titanium white. This is a really coarse brush, slightly watered down. Yeah, we're gonna do that. This is a different white. Again, we're creating some of the fur. So that short hair that Dobermans have. Not a lot, just a little bit here. A little goes a long way. Create some of that contour right here. Like that. The great thing is if you catch any mistakes early enough, you can technically blend them out with some water. It was a long stroke of white that came out of nowhere. I really like this contour right here because it really does show the Doberman's eyes. Some of the highlights coming in here that go right back into the back. All right, guys. Okay, we're coming up on the hour. I just wanted to do an hour of painting today. Hopefully get you guys to see this. I'll go ahead and grab the camera. That way you guys can see it. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think. This is how far we are so far. We'll work on it some more probably tomorrow night or maybe later on this week. But this is one of the projects we've got going. And yeah, if you guys enjoy it, please subscribe. And we'll be doing the live for the engraving here shortly though.